I'm Marty Stouffer. There are more than 22,000 different kinds of fishes in the world. That's more species than all the mammals, birds, reptiles, and amphibians combined. And among all those different kinds of fish, none is more sought after by fishermen than the largemouth bass, the most popular game fish in America. Its very name brings a kind of frenzied excitement to millions of anglers. Each year, they spend an increasing amount of dollars on everything from bait to bass boats. Anything to help them hook into a big mouth. This legendary fighting fish has become big business. Join me as I explore the world of the billion-dollar bass. The slow-moving currents of Florida's lakes and rivers provide warm, oxygen-rich water, sunny spawning areas, protection from northwest winds, and deep water sanctuaries. Just the right conditions for bass to flourish. Long before human anglers plied these placid waters, a host of creatures reaped a bountiful harvest of bass and other warm water fishes. Cormorants, brown pelicans, and osprey are common here on Florida's west coast. What they seek lies just below the surface. These plankton-filled waters are home to the largemouth bass, the largest member of the genus of black bass. All bass belong to the sunfish family, which includes bluegills, known as brim in the South. But bass are more streamlined and powerful than the oval-shaped brim. Possessing a sprinter's speed, bass can swim up to 20 miles per hour for short distances. Though largely ocean-going, jack crevalles visit these brackish waters, traveling in large hunting schools. Occasionally, a manatee glides silently by. Strange as it seems, this gentle aquatic mammal is a distant relative of the elephant. Schools of mullet are common in the nearby Gulf, and here, where fresh water from springs and rivers mixes with the ocean. The largemouth bass, or bigmouth as it's sometimes called, is less active than the flashy mullet, and it does not possess the endurance of a trout, which must battle fast currents. Instead, the bass prefers a more sedentary life in slow-moving water. Its diverse habitats also include small farm ponds, quarries, lakes, and reservoirs. Originally, largemouth bass were found only in the eastern half of the United States. Today, they've been successfully introduced into every state except Alaska. Running just above the bass's black lateral marking is a thin line of nerve-sensitive scales to help this hardy predator detect low-frequency vibrations of its prey. Its drab appearance gives it a distinct advantage when stalking. The largemouth literally inhales its quarry like a powerful pump. A 10-pound bass can suck in a quart of water in one gulp. Its color varies from light to dark green, and its chameleon-like ability to change colors and even develop spots to match the shadows of shallow water enhance its reputation as a stealthy hunter of fish, insects, crayfish, even birds and rodents. Every year, millions of fishermen come looking for a Florida lunker, shop talk, for a trophy bass. But over the years, catching trophy bass has become more difficult, largely due to overfishing and loss of habitat. Photos from the 1890s are vivid reminders of the excesses of the past. Previous generations had a catch-and-kill philosophy, which depleted many areas of nearly all their bass. Even without the legendary giant fish of yesteryear, bass fishing has become big business. Among the many sport fishermen are the less conventional bow hunters, trying to skewer a gar or perhaps a shad. An osprey snags a very small gar. Nicknamed fishhawk because it dines almost exclusively on fish, the osprey is the only raptor with talons and rough feet uniquely adapted to clasp and carry a slippery snack. What looked easy for the osprey sometimes seems almost comically awkward for humans. Regardless, people are captivated by bass fishing. Their expenditure of time is invariably accompanied by a staggering investment of money. Millions of serious bass fishermen have a boat, and not just any boat, but a bass boat. A well-equipped boat may carry a dozen or so rods made of boron, graphite, fiberon, or glassite. And reel selection can be critical. Casting, closed-faced, spinning, and on and on. An additional trolling motor helps sneak up on that elusive big mouth. A live well is a regular fixture on a decked-out bass boat.
Well, I believe that's all the shiners we've got. Now we'll have to start throwing artificials.
Okay.
Bass fishermen, even the most modestly outfitted, have a high-rise tackle box full of weird-looking lures with names like Snagless Sally, Mr. Twister Frog, Devil's Toothpick, Crazy Crawler, Wigglewort, and Chug Bug. Bass fanatics have depth finders, water temperature meters, and fish locators to chart the structure of the bottom and pinpoint the location of fish. Specialty stores sell endless assortments of bass paraphernalia, and not just in Florida. The Bass Pro Shop in Springfield, Missouri has turned bass into bucks. Advertised as a sportsman's mall, it speaks to the billion-dollar bass fishing industry more clearly than any statistics. Streets are even named for bass, and no less than 4 towns in Florida claim to be the bass capital of the world. All this hoopla over a fish, but to millions of anglers, the chance to catch a largemouth is worth any price.
That for you, don't let him beat you.
Some experts link fishing success to a full moon, a time when bass in their reproductive cycle are highly vulnerable. It's springtime in central Florida, and water temperatures are warming into the 60s. Bass activity is on the rise. The typically larger, egg-swollen female is courted by a smaller male. He tries to persuade her to lay her eggs in the nest site he has cleared of debris. The site is located in a sunny spot on the shallow river bottom, 30 feet from other bass nests. Only now, during spawning, can male and female bass be told apart. The female's eyes glow dark, while the male's eyes have faded to a pale gold. The female will deposit some 20 to 50,000 eggs in the male's chosen spot. After the male fertilizes the eggs, they incubate for 2 to 7 days, depending on the temperature of the water. Both parents aggressively defend the jewel-like clusters. Contrary to popular belief, the female has a vital role in protecting the eggs. An unwary fish that comes to rest near the male bass is quickly dispatched. "3 days later, the young start to emerge. tiny baby bass with yolk sacs attached to their bellies begin to vibrate, flexing their undeveloped fins and tails. Within a few days, these little micro bass break free of their thin membrane. Bottom heavy from their yolk sacs, they swim upright. The mother bass retreats to deeper water to rest and recuperate from the stress of spawning. Full recovery may take up to 3 weeks. Thousands of baby bass, known as fry, school up, feeding on tiny crustaceans and microscopic zooplanktons. The father now functions as a single parent, guarding the fry and attacking any threat to his offspring. It's no coincidence that most bass fishing takes place while bass are spawning. Every year in growing numbers, thousands of fishermen put their skills on the line for a chance to take home cash prizes. A leisure sport has become a series of highly competitive angling events, which one writer calls Bass Wars.
Basil bacon. Basil bacon. Now y'all do back. 350. Thank you.
Tournament promoters compare their multi-day events to golf's pro-am circuit. Both amateurs and professional anglers vie for prizes in their respective categories.
Boat 41, J.D. Perch. J.D. Perch, you're behind Robert Kilby. Go on up as quickly as you can.
According to some tournament veterans, there's more to winning a bass event than just choosing the right lure or cultivating the most skillful casting techniques. Most important is the selection of sites where bass are biting. The best fishing spots may be miles apart. Like public fishermen, tournament fishermen gravitate to the spawning beds where male bass are guarding their nests from predators. In addition to the motivation of hunger, males are so defensive at this time that they may interpret a dangling lure as an attack on their nest and strike at it. The increase in fishing activity over the spawning bed attracts a school of brim looking for a meal. Drawn to the dancing rubber lure, the brim target the nest. The combined pressure of human and sunfish predators drives the male away. All the eggs are eaten by the brim. Controversy has clouded bass tournaments for years. Tournament rules prohibit the use of live bait and require aerated live wells on all boats, but ignore the potential damage to sensitive spawning beds. Regulations also restrict fishermen to a limit of 5 to 7 fish, and these must meet size requirements, usually a 14-inch minimum. There is a 2-ounce weight deduction for submitting a dead one during the weigh-in process, and also a sizable penalty for keeping an undersized fish. After each day of fishing, anglers pass through checkpoints where their catch is counted and measured. During the process, the bass are kept in plastic bags that are held in tanks of treated and cooled water. Finally, the largemouth are carried to the scales for weighing.
And the weight, this will put him in the lead in a big way, folks. He'll probably win the tournament. 14 pounds, 9 ounces for Guido Hildad. Guido, that's an incredible fish. Oh, these are two of the larger ones up. These are all spectacular bass, folks. He had 2 bass at noon today, so we know he's been a busy boy. Guido Hildad, a fabulous catch. Here's just 2 of the specimens, folks, that he's caught during the course of the day. All right, if we could, I want to ask you this. You're early. This is early in the first flight. So we'll weigh this fast. See if it's like we go about 3.5, 4 pounds. The weight, just to be sure, this is the largest so far.
Even though nearly all fish are returned to the water alive, what of the policy of fishing bass beds? How sporting is it for tournament anglers or any fisherman to catch a parent that's trying to guard its young? Is there really any difference between leaving baby bass undefended and hunting for does, which are nurturing fawns? And ultimately, how damaging is this activity to future populations? All across the country, the blooming of dogwood usually coincides with the spawning of bass. The male bass continues guarding his fry for several weeks, until they're about an inch long. Once on their own, the fry are extremely vulnerable. Hiding in weed beds and schooling up will prove to be only moderately successful. Baby bass occupy a niche near the bottom of the food chain. They are pursued by a variety of skillful hunters, like the anhinga. Double-crested cormorants also prey on all sorts of small to medium-sized fish, including the tiny offspring of the largemouth bass. From the thousands of eggs laid by each female, few live through their first summer. On average, less than 10 baby bass from any given nest will reach 10 inches. Sometimes only 1 in 1 million survive. From the tiniest fry to the largest adult, the life of a bass is a never-ending struggle for survival. The recent bass fishing phenomenon has put even more pressure on largemouth populations. Fortunately, it has also spawned a whole new generation of fishermen with a catch and release philosophy. Conscientious anglers who understand that bass are a precious resource to be protected. Ironically, even catch and release is not without risk, for the fish that fights most heroically for freedom may die when released. Robbed of too much oxygen, the two-chambered heart may give out after a particularly long fight. Even under a cloud of such intense popularity, the bass as a species shows few signs of giving in. Bass fishing has become a billion-dollar business. All the hype makes it easy to forget that the bass is more than a trophy for a living room wall. It's an intelligent predator, responsible parent, and a fascinating member of our environment. By protecting bass habitat from development and participating in a catch and release philosophy, we can work together to ensure a future for the billion-dollar bass. I'm Marty Stouffer. Until next time, enjoy our wild America.